You may start recording. Yes. Good evening, neighbors and friends. My name is Tanya Little, and I'm your host for tonight's Hercules Democratic Club Forum. Behind the scenes, you have Stanley Tom, and he's providing us tech support. So behind the scenes means you cannot see him. Please only use the chat to communicate any technical difficulties you may be experiencing. We're hosting two forums tonight. The first one will be the West Contra Costa Unified School District Area 1 trustee, followed by the Rodeo Hercules Fire Protection District. All candidates will have up to 2 minutes for opening and closing statements. Each candidate will also have up to 2 minutes to respond to questions. Well, first of all, I'm so excited. I want you to join me in welcoming Jamila Smith-Folds, who is running unopposed. Trustee Smith-Folds is responsible for West County's Unified School District Area 1. And Area 1 includes Hercules, Pinole, and parts of unincorporated Richmond. And I'm sure Trustee Smith-Folds will correct me if there's any additions to the area in which he covers. Welcome, Trustee Smith-Folds.
Good evening. So thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. No, you're correct. I was elected by the citizens of the residents of Hercules, Pinole, and unincorporated Richmond, which includes Montalban. But I am responsible, and happily so, for the entire district, which is 5 cities and lots of unincorporated areas. And we go all the way from El Cerrito to Hercules and cover all the cities and unincorporated areas in between.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Tonight, you will have 6 questions. And as I stated earlier, you'll have 2 minutes. And if you're mid-sentence, don't worry about it. Just finish up your thought. So here is the first question that I'll ask you. Trustee Smith-Folds, what do you see as the current challenges facing public education in our district? Second part, how does that compare with challenges within California?
Education is a system that hasn't changed in about 250 years. That's the problem. I think that's a huge challenge because kids learn different, teachers teach differently, there's different modalities, there's so much educational studies that have been done about how children learn and what children need in education. The hierarchy triangle is no longer the same. It's now, do they have a good night's sleep? Do they feel safe coming to school? Are we making sure that we are focused on their individual and group needs? So I think one of the challenges for the entire nation or in the entire state of California is to understand that education must shift. There must be a shift in education. Now, it's one of those things when me and my husband had kids, we gave them everything we didn't get, but we forgot to teach them everything that we were taught. It's like that in education, right? We don't need to throw everything away. I think kids do need to learn how to read an analog clock. I think kids do need to know how to write cursive, right? But at the same time, kids need to know how to do research through an iPhone. That's just the way that we live. But they also need to understand that if that phone goes dead, how do you pick up an encyclopedia or a dictionary? So education has to grow, and it just hasn't. And I think that's because there's a fear of leaving something and not knowing exactly where to go. But when we do that, we get caught flat-footed. Miss Little, there is no clock, so I probably need one because I like to talk, friend.
Well, you're good. And so one of the things I did is when I printed my questions, you actually, I gave you 2 questions for number 1, and actually one of them was for number 2. So if you want to go on a little longer, you're welcome to do so.
I think, okay, the thing that as a school board trustee that we have been really intentional about in this district is anti-racism. Anti-racism is huge because we know that systems create barriers, and those barriers do exactly what they are supposed to do. They keep people out. They stop progress from happening. And what we're seeing in education, and like most systems like housing or lending to businesses or healthcare, is that race plays a role in that. And race plays a huge role in education. And this district is moving towards being anti-racist. Anti-racist is just that. Kendi says you're either racist or you're actively you're actively participating and not being racist. But there is no neutrality. There's nothing neutral. You have to either choose one or the other. And this district is choosing to be anti-racist by really interrogating its policies and procedures. And that's what we do at the board level. We make policy. So how is our policy being anti-racist? Because again, there's no neutrality. It's either being racist or it's actively working to be anti-racist. So that's where we're going in the district. And I think that will shift our district's education 100%, because we are zip coded. You will get a different education in Hercules than you get in Richmond. You will get a different education in Richmond than you get in Pinole. You would get a different education in Pinole than you get in El Cerrito. And for one unified district, we actually have to be unified. We can't just say it in our acronym. We have to be it in all of our policies and positions. I'm complete.
Thank you so much. Question number 3. An individual school board member has no authority. Only board can make decisions for the district. What skills or traits will allow you to contribute to effective operations of the board as a whole?
So you're right. The board, which means 3 or more, because we're a board of 5, which means we have to move by 3. 3 is the majority. The board makes policy, and the board sets a vision for the superintendent to then enact. However, as an individual trustee, what I do is I keep my feet firmly planted on the ground at these schools. So when I go into a board meeting, I am actively taking the voice and turning up the volume on the voice rather than taking the voice. Your voice is already there. I can't take it for you. It's already present. But I turn up the volume on the issues that are on the ground. I know what it's like to volunteer in a kindergarten classroom. So when we're talking about extending kindergarten for 15 minutes, I'm like, yo, y'all better volunteer in that classroom, because 15 minutes without another adult in the room is a lot. I know what it's like to do traffic in the morning. So when they're saying, should we stagger the school day or should we not? What does it do for traffic? Then I can add a voice to that and turn the volume up and say, listen, Hercules Middle School and Hercules High School is on the same road. That's one road in and one road out. So it makes a difference when you stagger the time. For us, we need a crossing guard, right? So there's individual board trustees. Their responsibility is to gather that information, come back to the board, speak with the people at the district level in the district office and central office and say, hey, let me turn up the volume on this. Lupine Hills needs a buzzer because there's nothing but windows in front of Lupine Hills, and they have to get up every 2 seconds and go answer the door. Or they have to keep the door unlocked, which could be a safety hazard. So why I fight for them to have a buzzer. So it's like these are the things that an individual trustee can do, but you are correct. We have to move as 3. Some of the skills that I have to help us move as 3 is that on the ground knowledge. It's being a teacher in the classroom and understanding what a teacher needs. It's being a parent of 3 school-age children, 1 that graduated through the district. Oh, time's up. And 2 that are in there now. So I bring the skill of experience. I'm complete.
Thank you. What is your top 2 priorities, or what are your top 2 priorities, and what steps will you take to implement them?
Anti-racism. And one of the steps that we took to implement that is we have a school board policy. You can now look towards the policy. A principal, a teacher, a parent, a student can say, wait a minute, this is your policy. However, this is happening to me at the school. A principal can say, listen, this is our policy, but I got this teacher who's making this decision about this child, and that is racist. And how do I get rid of them? There's a policy, right? How do I make that school safe for all students? There's a policy. How do I ensure that we are making protective policy? We look to that policy, right? We have those questions. We ask those questions. The other one is fiscal responsibility. Excuse me. We have got to keep control in our hands, budgetary control in our hands, because if we don't, and someone has to come in and make decisions for us. We've seen that happen in this district before when it was Richmond School District. We cannot allow that, because the people who will suffer the most are Black and brown students, because those are the schools that would be closed first. Those are the teachers that would be let go first because they have the lowest seniority. Because remember, you're fighting a system. You're fighting a system. So my priority is keeping control in our local hands, in our school board hands, to make decisions for our 25,000 babies. I'm complete.
Trustee Smith-Folds, how do you think the West Contra Costa Unified School District should implement Assembly Bill 3216, Pupils Phone-Free School Act?
So we have a governance committee on our school board. So it's a subcommittee. So the governance school committee, thank you, Cameron. The governance, excuse me for 1 second. Thank you. The governance subcommittee talks about bills with the cell phone bill, right? And what we do is we say, listen, what policy can we implement across district wide? Because what you don't want is a high school kid to go to one high school and it's one rule, and then go to another high school and it's another rule, and then some teachers implement it and some teachers don't. So we have a group of our district staff who's looking at how are schools doing it now and how are they doing it well. But what you have to remember is, because we're such a big district and because students have such individual needs, we have to look at our students that have IEPs, individual education plans, or 504 plans. And some of them say that they get to use their cell phone, mostly for white noise or mostly for other modifications and accommodations that come with the use of a cell phone. Now, if our district tablet and technology can supplant that, okay. But if it can't, how are we implementing that part of the cell phone? How are we implementing when we ask parents and parents are like, yo, I need my kid to have that phone on them? We know in this day and age, unfortunately, emergencies happen at school. And if one person holds the key to 27 cell phones and something happens to that one person, what happens, right? So we have to have these conversations. What the district is doing is going slow to go fast. They're implementing in elementary schools first because that's the easiest. It's just the easiest. Elementary kids are not going to give you a fuss. Most of them keep it in their backpacks anyway. You may have an issue with some fifth graders, but it's a manageable issue. Fifth graders don't have that lovely teenage stank to them. You understand what I mean? They don't have that back talk, as we say. So then we're going to implement it at our secondary level, middle school and high school. High school is actually going to be the easiest, and people don't realize that. They miss talking to each other. They just don't know how anymore. I'm complete.
Thank you. And for your last question, how will you address the different needs of all students? You kind of touched a little bit on that already, but can you take us a little deeper?
So one of the beautiful things, and it is a beautiful thing, I had 3 kids and all 3 of them are on the bell curve. My oldest daughter, the school didn't serve her well because she needed more. She was gifted and talented. I forgot what it's called. Yeah, it is gifted and talented. My middle baby has an IEP thicker than a phone book. I love that kid, but she will tell you in a heartbeat, that's not part of my IEP. But she was like, I need 3 days to do my homework, or I need to step outside for a brain break, or I need to go call my mom. And then my baby, who is in middle school, first year in middle school, she's on this end of the bell curve, which means, well, she's in the middle of the bell curve. The middle baby's on this end, but the baby in the middle, she needs that motivation. She's smart, but her willingness to do the work, she's like, I was like, when's your science fair project due? Tomorrow? And we're starting it today. So I have the experience of understanding the needs of all 3 types of our children. And it is my job to ensure that all 3 of them come out of this school system unharmed and given the benefit of success. What do they need to be successful? And we need to create a school system that has individual education plans for every one of our students, because all of them are individual learners. And if we start at the very beginning, when they're in TK and preschool, teaching them and their parents how they learn, then we can create that covering that they need to be successful. And it's one of those things that my job is to help every parent navigate through that and ask the questions, seek the information, ask for the resources. This is a service industry. We are here to serve you. Educators are here to serve the parents and the kids. And that's what I want to teach everyone to do. But I also want them to be active participants in their child's best advocate. You're your child's advocate, and you're their first parent, and you're their first teacher as their parent. So I hope that answered it, and I'm here to answer more questions. But again, my experience and my experience in the understanding that service is my oxygen is what keeps me wanting and needing to do this and to be able to be at a level to create policy, protective policy for all students. I'm complete.
So Trustee Smith Folds, I shortchanged you on your opening statement and you have a closing statement as well. So if you want to combine them, you're welcome to do so. If you want to do them separately, I'm going to leave that up to you. But running unopposed means that you've done such a great job, I believe. I mean, I've looked at your Facebook pages. I know that you're out there at the school. I see the posts. I see you responding to parents and giving them your phone number, say, call me directly. Um, you're doing such a good job. No one can beat that at all. So I'm so blessed that you're in our community.
I appreciate you. This has been the pleasure of my life. Having my daughters, nothing can compare to that, but this is a close second. Being able to see kids get it. When I was in the classroom and that light bulb would come on, I'm like, yeah, all right, you got it, let's go. I taught English and history, and it was just a beautiful thing. Seeing it at this level and being able to serve at this level, it has been a pleasure of a lifetime. I'll quickly, a little bit about myself. Born and raised in Alabama. My husband and I came out here. We still feel like California is not our home. I don't really call any place home that serves something called turkey bacon. I am from Alabama. If it's not, oink oink, it doesn't count. But we have enjoyed raising our children here because of the diversity that California offers, and because of the diversity that Hercules in general offers. We found it to be a pleasurable place to live. And being a school teacher, I was history and English. And then I was a homeschool teacher to the middle one and the younger one, until they went back to public school. And I just have to tell you that education is something, if we get it right, we can change the world. But because that's true, the system is always going to push to correct itself. We just have to push harder, and we do that by pushing together. So I'm here to push. I'm here to push the system on your behalf. I'm here to push the system on the community's behalf, the teachers' behalf, and I just want to continue to be able to serve. That's all. I'm complete.
Well, Trustee Smith Folds, thank you so much for today's participation and for your commitment to serving parents and students in Area 1. Again, as I said earlier, you're a blessing to the community. You're very engaged. So I know when you go back to those school board meetings, you're taking firsthand knowledge because you're there with boots on the ground. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great night. Bye.
Well, I hope so far